today. I have finished my, what should I call it? Should I call it the shining sweater? I don't know. Ta-da! This is how it turned out. I'm not wearing it because it is much too warm today. We are now in mid-April and the weather is getting actually quite beautiful, and the little apartment I'm renting is kind of warm, so, and I can't open the window because there's too much traffic outside. So I'm afraid I'm not gonna wear this today, but you can see, I think it turned out pretty nice. It is more of a ski style sweater, so the season is a little off, but I'm pleased with how this turned out, and it's knitted in a fingering weight yarn, so it's thinner and flimsier, which is good because it does not get too hot. And as you know, I have a tendency to get too hot, so I like it also. I knitted it a little large, loose, and it's not oversized, but it's loose and comfortable. So I think that this type of wool is warm enough to wear in the winter time, but since it's thinner, it's not too hot. So I do like that one. I don't have a whole lot more to say about this. I've talked about the sweater in the past, about the pattern, how I designed that on Stitch Fiddle. I basically only cast it on, I forget how many, maybe 84 stitches or so, because I wanted the neck to come up a little higher, almost like a mock neck. And then I placed 4 markers for where I do the raglan sleeve, here and on the back and there and on the back side. And then what you do is that you increase before and after each marker on every second round, so that you end up with a raglan increase. So all of this is knitted in one round, not one round, but in one piece. And then after I have knitted this part, I put all of these sleeve stitches that I had ended up with on a holder to rest, and then you continue to knit the body. And yeah, so it's a very simple construction of a sweater. And what's good about knitting it top down like this is basically you can try it on to see when it fits, and when you have enough stitches that you can actually pinch underneath your arm with a little bit of a positive ease, that's when you know you're ready to stop. And then if you find that you have too many, if the sweater is getting too wide, you can always decrease and create a little bit of a waist shape in the middle as you go down the body. I actually did that on this sweater. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of a waist shaping too there, because I didn't want it to be too baggy or too boxy. So it turned out good. I'm gonna take a picture of this another day and I can put it up on Instagram, but I'm glad I got it out of the way. I'm done. And of course I've already started casting on, well, I'm halfway through, I'm almost done actually, the spark cardigan that I knitted earlier. I loved making it so much that I immediately went out and I bought new yarn so I can make another one for my sister-in-law this time. And she said she likes the beige and the brown colors. So this is where I'm at with this one. And I think it's gonna look absolutely beautiful on her. The yarn I've chosen for the spark cardigan, the original pattern calls for, I think, magpie and spin cycle yarn, which are beautiful yarns. I did not choose that. I've talked about this in the past too, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But I did, since I am in Sweden, I chose Svensk Järbo wool. Järbo wool, it's like the old-fashioned traditional. It's almost like Icelandic yarn. It's scratchier. And a lot of people don't like scratchy yarns, and myself included. But I'm thinking a sweater, a cardigan like this, you will never wear next to your skin. You'll wear something like this underneath it, and you're wearing it for warmth, and there is nothing warmer than pure natural wool. It is also good for those cold, damp days when there's like almost rain in the air, because natural wool has almost like a water repellent quality to it. It's got to be the oil in the natural fiber or so. So I don't know, it just kind of, you can almost feel the heat from it. So if you're going to be outside, and I know my sister-in-law has a cottage, and when they go up early in the summer or in the springtime or even in the fall, and you have those chilly nights, this will be perfect for her to drape around her. So I hope, if she's watching this, I hope she can get over the itchiness and the scratchiness of it and embrace it. I have learned to embrace the scratchy yarn. I always used to say to my knitting friends who were into knitting Icelandic sweaters, how can you handle the scratchy yarn? I have baby skin, I can't do it, I can't do it. And they said, just get over it. And it sounds so silly, but yeah, I have gotten over it. And the thing is, the trick is not to wear it when you're too warm, because then the scratchiness starts. If you're wearing it with other clothes underneath and you're outside in the cold, you don't feel the scratchiness. It's odd. You only feel it when you get too hot. So that's the trick. These are meant to be almost like outdoor garments. They're not meant to sit inside. You put them on when you go for a chilly fall walk, or when you're out doing yard work in the springtime, you wear them. Or if you're just gonna sit and look cool in a cafe outdoors, that's when you wear them. So anyways, and so the beige yarn that I used for her, I got myself another. Of course, I couldn't just buy one skein. I bought myself another color, and look at this beautiful sage plum color of this. It is made by Ullcentrum, another Swedish yarn from Öland. Öland is one of our large islands here in Sweden, and it is a two-threaded type of wool yarn. Don't know the dye or anything like that. It's a medium weight, and yeah, medium weight. Would you say that? I would say it's almost like a DK. I don't know if the terminology here in Sweden is different, and I'm learning that. In North America, we talk about thin, medium, fingering weight or worsted weight, but here they talk about 2 threads, 4 threads, 3 threads. I don't even know what that means, but it worked out good for this particular project, so I think I'm in the right weight. They talk about stitch count, how many stitches to the centimeter, and I think this yarn has about 22, 23 stitches per 10 centimeters. So I found that it worked out well for the project that I'm making. Yeah, another thing I wanted to say, and this goes for any project, not just this one. The idea of this sweater, I wanted the pattern to be gradient. The yarn that I picked was gradient, so it was dark brown in one end of the skein, almost as white as at the top here. You can see almost here as to very light. That's all one skein, and it's not repeating itself. It's not dark, going from dark to light, dark to light. It is one long, the whole skein was one long soft gradient. And since I wanted the dark part in the sleeves and at the bottom, I couldn't just continue because if I made this sleeve and then started with this sleeve when I was finished with the other one, I would have a completely different color way on the two sleeves and as the body. So when I wound up the skein, I noticed this, and I decided to split the skein in, I split it in two actually. So when I got halfway through the darkest part of the brown, I cut it off. And then I used that first dark part of the brown to make the darker part on the sleeves. And then I knitted in segments. I had to do it that way. I had to split it up. So this, I don't know if you call these chevrons or triangles or whatever. So down here, this part I made in the darkest part, and then I split it so it gets, I don't know if you can actually, it doesn't actually really show up in camera, I can see that now, but in real life you can see that it's going from lighter to darker, or darker to lighter I should say. So I split up a little bit so that I would have enough to do the two sleeves. And then I split up and did the middle section, and then I did the top section, and then I split that, the leftover of the lighter yarn I split up into two so I could continue the sleeves. And then the original half of the skein I just continued with the body. So I ended up dividing it a little bit. It was trickier than I thought. Usually a self-coloring yarn has a repeat and it comes back eventually. So my other cardigan, the one I made, the first one I made, had a repeating pattern, so I didn't have to worry about that. I just kept going with the same ball yarn the whole way through. But that's just a little trick. Sometimes you've got to be creative. And I know when I'm knitting socks too, I sometimes look for the color variations in the yarn so that I can break it off and end up with the same color at the toe, or I begin, if I do top down sock, I want to make sure I start at the right spot in the color variation, or I get two identical balls of yarn and start at the same spot. So anyways, that was one little note in this sweater, and I am very pleased with how this is turning out. It's a fun one. Now, of course, when I don't have a whole lot left on this. I'm just basically doing the yoke, like the top part of the shoulder, and then you're just doing you pick up stitches and you do the collar and the belt for it, and that's basically nothing. So already in my mind, I am now thinking about what to make next. So I had to, of course, hop on over to the best little yarn store here in Norrköping, and Osa, who works there, she's the owner of that store. She was kind enough to let me have a look around in there. With the owner of the boutique. Her name is Osa. Hi, Osa. Hi. How long have you owned this store?
I have it with my mommy, and we have 34 years.
34 years?
Yeah.
And you've always been at this location?
Yes.
That is fantastic. So I would say you are the yarn store in Norrköping.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of other places that sell yarn too, but I would say this is probably the store that is the most fully stocked with the most amount of different kind of yarns. So what got you into knitting? Your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And grandma.
And grandma, yeah, it's traditional, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And would you say that there's a large knitting community here in Norrköping?
So maybe. But I don't think it's Ja, kanske.
A little bit, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So you don't have, do you offer any classes or anything
No,
in the store?
no.
There's not enough interest
No.
for that?
Maybe, but no, not in this COVID time.
COVID times have put an end to a lot of things. That's true. Yeah. No, I could stay here all day. I bought some more yarn for the Spark cardigan that I'm knitting. And of course, my attention span is like a goldfish. I keep seeing other things I want to knit. Look at all this yarn. And this is fantastic. You have a huge selection of buttons.
Yeah.
Look at that. Take note, stores in Canada, because nobody sells buttons. Well, very few anyways. You have to order buttons online, so maybe I need to take a look at some buttons too while I'm here. Yeah. But, well, thank you for letting me film a little bit in here, Åsa.
Thank you.
I encourage anybody who's knitting in this Norrköping area, go and see her. Support your local yarn shops. It's so important. We can buy everything online today, but you know what? The knowledge that you get when you go into a yarn store, and if you have questions about a pattern or the amount of yarn or whatever, just go there and talk. They are often, I find that when I visit any yarn shop, they are so knowledgeable. They're also passionate about knitting, just like you are, and they want to help you. So, well, that's how my experience anyways. They are very accommodating, and I think that if we lost that, we would lose a big part of this culture. Yes, we can meet online, we can learn online, we can buy yarn online, but there's nothing about going into a yarn store and touch and feel and see the yarn and see things that's been knitted and just talk about people with like mind. And I think it's important to support your local yarn shops. And I do realize since I've come to Sweden here how very blessed we are in Toronto, where I'm from. We have a lot of good yarn shops. I can pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yarn shops off my head where I bought yarn, where I've gotten great help. I have my favorites, of course. Some yarn stores aren't as pretty as, of course, Little Red Mitten, and that's so you all know how much Suzanne and I love that store. But they have goods. They're well stocked, and they have good, interesting, good yarn. And I could talk about yarn all day. Can you tell I have a passion for yarn and knitting? Yeah, no, don't we all? There was something else I was going to talk about. Now I forgot what it was. Oh yes, I remember now. Where did I put it? So there is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I picked up this Arne and Carlos pattern, and it's a beautiful sweater. I love the oversized motif on an old traditional kind of pattern. They oversized it and they made it into a tarsia type of knitting. And I think I've talked in the past how much I despise knitting, and tarsia is tricky for me. I do not like to knit two-stranded on the purl side. I don't like carrying the floats that way. I just like to go in the round. And I don't want to do this sweater. I mean, this is just, the motif is on the front, right? So I don't want to carry the yarn all the way through in the back, and it's just wasting a whole bunch of yarn. So I was thinking, should I knit it in the round and then just snip the yarn after each? But then I have like 68 million threads to weave in at the end of it. So Arne and Carlos has also come up with a technique or design, and I actually don't even remember what they call it, but what they do is that they basically knit with both colors. So they have the main color yarn, and then they have a thinner contrast color, and when it comes to knitting the design, they actually knit with both, which is easier because it's almost like knitting in tarsia, but you don't have to worry about twisting the stitches or anything like that. You basically just knit. When you get to the design part, you just pick up the extra color, and then when you don't need it, you drop it. So then when you purl on the purl side, it's just that once you get to it, you just pick up that color. You don't have to worry about carrying any floats or anything like that. You just snip off some yarn and you have it like in tarsia, but you don't have to worry about the holes or the gaps that it creates because you're still carrying the main color through. So I just made a little swatch here and I basically did a little heart design. So you can see you can't really control where the color pops up when you knit with both colors in the color design part, but that's okay. It becomes almost like a washed out yeah, unfortunately now I had one spot there where there's a lot of, and not, the peach is not showing through so much. However, when you blow it up and make a big pattern, it doesn't really matter if it shows up on every stitch. So basically you knit with the 2-stranded yarns on that part. And you just knit like normal. So I figured if I make that sweater, then I can handle intarsia because I don't have to worry about twisting any stitches or getting gaps. It is a good practice anyways. There's no carrying floats or anything. You just pick it up, drop it, forget about it. Pick it up, drop it, forget about it. So I'm thinking maybe I will do that next. That might be a next project. I just have to go back to Osa, maybe, in that little yarn shop and see if I can find some good, maybe I'll do it in some type of mohair. Oh, that would be nice. See, now my sitting thinking about the next project, that's almost half the fun. Planning out your next project, that's half the fun. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. However, before I do that, I gotta finish this. And I don't have a lot left to do. I also don't have a lot of time left here in Sweden. I have booked my ticket to come home. Oh, I miss my family so much. I love you guys. I miss you so much. I can't wait to see you and hug you and all, but I got a quarantine before, so we have to be patient a little bit longer and soon I get to be home again. I feel good about leaving Sweden because I am not worried about my father anymore. His health has now stabilized. My parents have gotten their first shot of their vaccine, so I'm like, I can relax now a little bit. We can get some help in for them and I can go home and be with my family. I just don't know when I'll get to come back here, so it's bittersweet because once I say goodbye here, I don't know when I can come home again. That would be hard, but that's for that day. Today, it's a beautiful sunny day and I'm off to get some more yarn. And until next time, take care. Bye. Happy knitting. Bye. Hello and welcome to It doesn't feel right. Have I been here 4 months? 5 months? I've been here a long time. I miss my family. Anyways, come closer. Oof, shit. Sorry. If you guys could see my little setup here, it is ridiculous. Oi. Oi, 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 oi. The little tiny tripod that I have is sitting on a baking dish, sitting on top of a chair, so hold on.